Welcome to another episode of Crime Pays, a Botany Doesn't. Today, I'm coming to you from Fort Stockton, a bastion of sensuality and serenity in lovely Pecos County, Texas, home of the Fort Stockton Walmart, which, thank God, we're not visiting today because it can turn ugly. It can be a real ugly scene. You see the sun-blasted blue sign there, and just there's all kinds of the normal kinds of depravity you find inside a Walmart. Anyway, that's not the point. Today we're going to go check out Comanche Yucca, aka Big Bend Yucca, a wholesale yucca nursery that specializes in providing large yuccas to the landscaping industry, not only in lovely Texas, okay, my home state, but also in places like New York City, Arizona, all throughout the West. All right, they specialize in selling Yucca Rostrata, which is a very cold-hardy yucca species. It's a coalescent yucca, so it's got a stem. It's not just a bunch of rosette leaves on the ground. Very, very cold-hardy, can tolerate temperatures of upwards of -20 below Fahrenheit. So let's go check it out. Here we go. Okay, see, I got a hat now, so I don't roast my ass in the sun. Those little, those God bless D. Wexler steel on the south side of Chicago for the hat, but, it's not going to cut it in this West Texas sun. Anyway, when I say they, referring to this nursery, I'm referring to my friend Hovind Riley right here. This is a one-man operation. He's the guy that started it all. We're gonna let him do the talking. So, Hovind, how'd you get started in the yucca business?
I've always had a passion for yuccas. I mean, since a little kid. Our first Christmas tree, or one of our first Christmas trees, was the yucca that we dug off the farm here, my brother and I. And it just caught with me since then. We've planted yuccas in our yard, digging them up out of the pasture. And I've always just had this passion. And when I went out to Arizona, where I went to school, I was introduced to xeriscaping, landscaping, and saw how people were using them in the landscape. And that passion was just further driven as something that I could possibly do as a living someday. And that was always in the back of my mind. So I moved back to the family farm. Here I am. This is actually the first yucca I ever planted on the farm here, after being in college, that is. I brought this back from college after landscaping. I thought I'm going to show people in Texas what a real yucca is. Little did I know, this is actually a Texas yucca that I was bringing back from Arizona.
So tell everybody about this species, because this is a banger right here, this one right here.
This is Yucca Rostrata, and it is the queen of the yuccas. It's remarkably adaptive to different soil conditions and temperatures. It can take down to -20, and of course it's very drought tolerant and heat tolerant. So these yuccas can live pretty much coast to coast, border to border. Amazing plant.
Okay, so this guy right here, Yucca Rostrata, it's the majority of the population's in Mexico, but you get a few small populations here in West Texas, and it's like that for a lot of plants. Majority of the population's in Mexico, and then you get small outliers in Texas. So where does this occur in Texas?
This is down by Big Bend National Park, a little bit in the park itself, and into a place called Brushy Canyon on a couple of ranches in that area around Brushy Canyon, Black Gap area.
And how big did these get? I mean, you had this 30 years. This is a beast.
Yeah, this one I planted like 36 years ago, and it must be, 25 feet tall maybe.
How big was it when you planted it?
It was a little 5-gallon size. It was a tiny little thing. I did not expect this.
How tall?
I would say just a foot.
Really?
That's all it was.
So that's 30, and that thing's a beast now. It's like you get the owls and stuff nested in there ever, or birds hanging out.
That's a bird condominium. The birds love to get up there underneath those leaves. You come here in the evening time, and it's just chock full of little sparrows mainly, but there can be 100 of them in there easily.
And when it flowers, what's the inflorescence look like?
The stalk itself is going to be 6 to 8 feet tall. Beautiful little creamy droplet flowers. Real waxy looking. They're just so vibrant in their color. They just really pop out. But it doesn't flower every year though. You're looking at maybe every 2 or 3 years it's going to flower.
Yeah, but that thing's, man, it's massive. It's incredible how big can they get?
Typically you're looking at really 6 feet to 10 feet in the wild. But obviously this one has been watered. And actually the world champion used to be here in Fort Stockton, but it perished in the heat, the drought that we had back, I think it was 2008. I bet that thing was 35 feet tall.
Jesus Christ, 35. How old was it? Do you know?
Oh, it had to be at least 50 years old, I would imagine, speculating how old that hotel was. It was there on the east end of Fort Stockton. And a lot of yucca aficionados in the area certainly would come visit and pay tribute to this yucca when it was alive.
God, what a man. That's nice. I can imagine there's a ample opportunity for wildlife to hang out in underneath that skirt of leaves
absolutely.
too.
I mean, not only is this good for wildlife, this protects the plant. See all the wasps that are in there. Oh, goodness.
Oh,
but
wow.
it protects the plant from rain, from getting the trunk wet, moisture.
So you just handled that wasp nest like it was nothing.
There's nothing in there, fortunately, or I would both be running right now.
But you want the wasps around because they're gonna be, they're predators on a lot of pest
Oh, they
insects,
never
too.
bothered me. I didn't even know they were in there.
Right, yeah. Yeah, we're trying to get less people afraid of nature. Oh, look, you got a bird nest up in there.
Oh, yeah. No, there's a wasp up there going into the bird nest.
Oh, yeah.
So, no, it is habitat for sure.
Yeah.
Something like this.
God, and just when they light up, it's just like when they bloom, it's just a white torch of...
Oh, this plant is such a focal point of the landscape. People going into xeriscaping. And again, it's not just for xeriscaping. I ship these plants up to New York, up to Oregon, Washington. They lend themselves to blend in and be in a lot of different habitats. People going for the more tropical look, perhaps.
So you said you shipped this to somebody in Manhattan that was just growing it on their balcony.
I have a little 2-foot size Rostrata I sell in my online store. And I've sold a number of them to Brooklyn, of all places. That was a surprise to me. It's not anymore. But yeah, people putting them on their balconies. I'm going to make a tour of New York City one of these days and just visit all these plants.
Hardy, what's the minimum temp they can handle?
-20.
Wow. Yeah, well, that makes sense. If they got that coat of that old skirt of leaves,
this is
too.
really a jacket that protects them from the cold, definitely. People who live up north, I recommend they do not trim them. A lot of people like to trim them. They like that poodle look.
Oh, I hate that.
Yeah.
They do that with palm trees. They just need something to do.
Yeah, I guess.
Busy work.
And the landscapers like it, too, because they have to go back every year and trim them. So it's more money for them.
They get to shake down the client. Right, there you go. Okay, Hovind, I couldn't help but notice these beautiful agaves. You got two species here, ovatifolia, and what's that? Is that Havardii, or what is that over there? Is that Perrii?
The Perrii wachukensis.
Oh, that's Perrii.
Yeah, from the Huachuca Mountains in southeast Arizona.
Oh, wow, Christ, that
I don't
thing's
sell
beautiful.
those. I just happen to have that in my yard.
Yeah.
I used to live in southeast Arizona in Bisbee. So it's just something, a plant I always enjoy. But this is one I do sell here. This is the Agave ovatifolia. Common name would be the whale's tongue. This is a tissue cultured plant. It is the frosty blue variety.
Christ, and these grow fast as hell, too.
They grow incredibly fast. I mean, I'm shocked still to this day how fast they'll grow. This plant here has been in this container for 3 years. That was a 5-gallon size when I put it in there. So, I mean, it was literally maybe that around when I put it in there. 3 years later, boom.
So it's quintupled in growth.
Oh, it's
diameter easily.
Yeah. And it's in a pot too, so it's growing a little bit slower, but this is a large pot.
Does ovatifolia form offsets like some of the other agaves?
Not so much. This is a clean plant. It's not going to do a lot of pupping, which is actually desirable for the landscape because it doesn't get all crowded and twisted in there.
It's not desirable for me because when I see them planting it, in like the Galleria Shopping Center west of Austin, I want to go gank pups from it because it's such a great fucking plant,
I pull
man.
very few pups off of these.
Okay, so here by your barbecue pit, this is Rostrata too, right?
Yes, this is a Rostrata. I planted this one in the pot, probably about 5 years ago. I just want to see how long they could live in the pot and look good. I actually did not water this plant. It was in the full sun 3 years ago, and I didn't water it all summer long, and it was hot. I bet you I didn't water it for half a year. And it started looking a little bit bad after 6 months, but I started watering it again, obviously, because I want plants to look good. But they're remarkably tough.
They're so tough. They're succulent, and they've also got these glaucous leaves. I noticed this species doesn't have any of those foliferous hairs on the margins.
It's not like Yucca Elata, which will have those hairs on the side of them.
That's a lot of this is a really common one out.
Yeah, the Faxons will have the hairs growing off of them as well, but these are really clean. And the edges are smooth. They're not serrated. It's kind of like glass, so you're not going to cut yourself, and Little Giant's not going to get eviscerated.
But the deer don't go for these either?
Not so much. I've seen jackrabbits eat on them.
Kind of pokey and tough. Well, the tips are pokey, and then the foliage itself is tough, and then that's where the new cell division is actively going on.
That's right.
That's where the apical meristem. Yeah, God, man, what a great plant. And just in that little pot.
As well.
Wow. Okay, now let's see what you got going in a barbecue really quick.
Well, this is Sunday, so I cook for the hands. I got 3 good hands. This is not a one-man operation. I really depend on the help. And so I'm appreciative of them, and every Sunday I get out here and cook. Not I don't always barbecue, but today we're doing briskets, and plus I have some friends coming in from Tucson. When I have friends coming in from Tucson or good buddies, I want to fire up the grill.
Oh my God, look at it. The dog, she's unfazed. She knows she's not getting. I'll give you some later, maybe. Oh, the decor. Look, that's lovely. Damn, man.
Yeah, my mom picked this out. We built this house in 1980. All adobe. This is a sunroom, which has turned into a grow room now. This is where it all begins. We start from seed. We dig nothing out of the wild.
So this is all Rostrata right here.
This is all Rostrata. I'm almost a one-trick pony these days. I've tried growing different things, and the Rostratas are just so tough, and they do so well, and they ship out to different parts of the country.
And there's a lot of demand for them. So where do you ship? You ship everywhere.
I ship everywhere, literally.
You get people ordering from everywhere.
I haven't counted up the different states. I even get requests from Japan, India, down in South America. But I don't ship international. But all over the place. My main business is wholesale. But my retail business is called BigBenYucca.com.
It's so cool, man. Look, they're already getting that blue color, and they just look like little. I mean, they're monocots, so they just look like little
like
blades of grass.
Yeah.
Coming up. So how many do you have here? This has got to be what, 10,000?
I'm hoping for 20.
20,000 individual plants, and they're pretty easy. So what will you do? You keep them in this for what, another couple months, and then pot them up, or what?
Well, we'll grow these through the winter time here. The next spring, we'll pot them up into little cups. And then little cups, they'll stay in there for a year, maybe 2 years. If I'm lucky, we'll plant these out in 2026, and we'll have them ready for sale in 2032, 2033.
And so how long until this gets like 2 foot, 3 foot tall?
It's going to be 8 years before these are ready to sell. It's going to be 7 years, 7 to 8 years. Some of them will be 10 to 12 years old. Because I grow from seed, you get a lot of genetic variability. So there's going to be a little bit different growth rates, but it's going to be a minimum of 8 years before I have a plant sold.
I like that you grow from seed. That's more genetic diversity. That's
right.
Different phenotypes and stuff. It's amazing, man.
Yeah, this is a seed collection from Mexico, from a really beautiful population down there. It's extra blue. I'm really happy with these seeds I'm getting, but they're hard to find now. It just depends. Every year is different. I haven't been able to buy seeds now for 2 years, so hopefully I can get some seeds.
So long-term investment, but you love this.
It's a long-term investment. That's right. It's got to be a passion. I mean, if anybody thinks they're going to get easy money going into something like this, man, get after it, do it. But you have to really love it.
But yeah, the point is to make it so it doesn't feel like work. I mean,
that's
you
right.
work your ass off, but it doesn't feel like work because you're in love with it.
Yeah, you enjoy it. That's right. If you enjoy what you're doing, it's not work. Some days are just tough out here, no doubt. I mean, the wind. It's hot, the dirt's blowing, you're a long ways from your friends out in Arizona and Alaska where I used to live. So the isolation can be tough, but I love what I'm doing. I came here and I have no regrets.
You know what's funny too about West Texas? Tell everybody about spring in West Texas, because the rest of the country, spring is everything's lit up, going off. Here it's crispy, dry, and windy as all hell.
Oh, spring can last maybe a week if we're lucky, of nice time. But it's windy. Oh my gosh, the wind just gets blowing. It can blow for 30 days nonstop. Just drive you crazy.
The West Texas dust storm is a season.
That's right. And the plants here are adapted. They can handle this. That's why plants from the Chihuahuan Desert are really popular in the landscape market throughout a lot of the country, because if those plants can live here as they do in their native habitat, they can pretty much grow anywhere.
Hovind, what do you think of lawns?
Lawns are a waste of time and energy. Even though I have one here, I despise it. I mean, I don't feed it. I don't water it much. I mean, I try not to. But we've had a lot of rain here this last month. We've had like 6 inches. And so my grass is green, but lawns are a waste.
It's like splotches of grass with pine needles in it, too, we should mention. I can work with that. I can handle that.
I'd like to get rid of it. But yeah, lawns are a waste of time.
All right, let's go outside, see what else you got.
Okay. I'd rather take an ass whooping than mow a lawn.
This, man, look at this. How old is this Agave ovatifolia?
I bet you I've had this plant here for about 6 years, planted as a little 5 gallon. And look how massive it is. Unbelievable.
Yeah, that's insane, man.
I mean, these things are just, they're an eye catcher.
Native to Tamaulipas. I think Tamaulipas, maybe Nuevo Leon too. I'll have to
I take it down to 0 degrees, no problem.
Wow, really? Fahrenheit, 0 degrees Fahrenheit. When
0
it was
degrees
big,
Fahrenheit.
just unfazed.
I have these growing in Marfa. They're quite popular in Marfa. And it gets pretty chilly down over there in Marfa.
Yeah.
I have these in Bisbee, Arizona, where it's also quite chilly. So
One of my favorite comedians is from Bisbee, Arizona. I guess he
Dan-
lives. He's not from there. He lives there.
Dan
yeah.
Stanholtz.
Yeah, Doug Stanhope.
Doug
yeah,
Stanhope,
yeah. There you
excuse
go.
me.
Look, it's just a giant solar panel. Look at it. God damn, a giant, well-armed solar panel. Just collected, just stacking it up, just stashing it in that giant heart. That giant heart so it can fly. How big do the inflorescences on the avatifolia get?
Oh gosh, these things
15?
shoot up like 30 feet tall.
30 feet, wow.
Oh yeah, I have one flower over here. They're just massive.
I collected seed 3 or 4 years ago off a plant in cultivation, but I forget how tall the stalk was. I think it had fallen over too, so I could get it. God, that's got to be 6 foot diameter right there. That's
Easily
crazy.
6 feet diameter. Yeah. Not this big.
Yeah, it's like a mixture like bluegrass and Bermuda, and then you get your native Sphaerosia coming back. Yeah, it's not too bad. I like it. At least it looks unkempt. That's great. That's what I appreciate the most.
Oh yeah, you're not going to catch me mowing the lawn every week.
Oh, this is nice. Hovind, what is this thing?
Well, back in my early days when I started growing these yuccas, I wasn't selling anything and I was running out of things to do, so I started a project of building myself a coral bell earth bag house. And I turned this into my steam room.
So it's like a sweat lodge.
It's like a sweat lodge.
I like that you
exactly.
left the Chilopsis too. That's
Yeah,
nice.
that just kind of came up on its own.
Yeah, it's good. It's good there. It's like a little de facto
And this
door.
was unplanned. It just kind of happened organically.
These just like a bird shit up there or something or what?
Well, I planted it, but as far as like creating the planter, that
Oh,
was just kind
yeah.
of that
Okay.
just kind of happened. It wasn't planned that way. It's also my tornado shelter. Although if a tornado comes, the first thing is to drive away.
Tornado comes.
Oh yeah. If I can't drive away, this is where I run.
Go underground. Yeah. Oh shit. You get tornadoes out here in West
Oh
Texas?
yeah, we get tornadoes here. Absolutely.
Okay, now what's this, Hovind? This looks like Yucca Faxoniana to me, which is a Texas native. It's the giant. It's probably the largest yucca we have in the state of Texas. But you said you got this seed from where?
A long time ago, I bought some seeds from Germany. I saw the website and I thought, well, I want to see what these guys have. And I bought some Faxoniana. And I had a few of these come up a little bit different color. And I don't know if they mixed in seed with something else or we got some hybridization going. But I've had botanists kind of debate actually what this is. I'm not exactly sure. I couldn't say conclusively.
When did you germinate the seed? How long ago?
I probably germinated this seed at least 15 years ago. Maybe 16, 17 years ago.
8 feet tall now, but this is such a great... Yeah, this is kind of weird to see this down here, this blue, but it definitely does look like Faxoniana. It might be a hybrid or something, I guess.
It could be a hybrid. I really don't know. I've had some serious botanists come in here and they're not even sure what it is.
Okay, so what's this? Is that like, it looks like a shade cloth with like chicken wire on it or what?
That's we had shade cloth on it, but it's all, I don't know, dissolved out in the sun now and worn away. I built that as a hail guard. I put a lot of agaves underneath there, just trying to save them. I mean, if we have a hailstorm here,
The fucking hail out here is insane.
Oh, it's brutal. It'll wipe me out of business. So that's just my desperate attempt to protect some plants. I don't use it so much now, but I still have it up. That's all salvage material from a broken down irrigation sprinkler. And we just built it and I wouldn't do it again, but we still have it.
What are those agaves in there? Is that Ovatifolia, Havardiana?
We have Havardianas underneath there. I got a few Perias as well. I keep an inventory of those for my online retail store. This is part of my wholesale aspect of my business. In here, I have the shade cloth. It's about 50%. When we harvest the plant, we put them into the pots. We put them underneath the shade just to reduce the transplant shock. We're going to hold these plants for about 2 months, maybe 3 months, root them out to the pots. Then we load them up onto a semi and they go to your local nurseries.
So are these all different phenotypes? They're all seed grown or what?
Yeah, these are all seed grown from here. That's the same batch of seed, basically, what you saw in my house.
Wow. And how old are these?
These are getting on 10 to 12 years old, some of these right here.
And so you grow them from seed, put them in the ground because everything kind of does better in the ground.
That's right.
Yeah, and then, doesn't dry out as easy, does more root space, and then when it's time to ship or sell, you just go dig them with a tree spade or what?
I dig them up with a skid steer. We just literally rip them out of the ground and put them back into the pots. and that's when we root them out. So it's a lot of work. It's a lot of time commitment. You know, we plant them in the seed, got to do that indoors, put them in the cups, then we plant them outside, and they sit for 2-3 years doing nothing after you plant them. They grow a root system. Weeds cover them up. I mean, it's so much work. And after about that 3rd, 4th year, they start to grow.
That's when they start shooting up.
That's right. That's when they start growing up. And so you got to be really patient. It's a lot of patience involved in this work.
I mean, this genus, the genus Yucca, I mean, it blows my mind where I see some of them growing, just barren in the middle of nowhere, just getting the piss beaten out of them by the sun and the heat and the dry winds, and that's because they've got that big succulent root system, that extensive
they
root
have
system.
a very expansive root system, and they're just, they look like a plant that maybe couldn't take such harsh, dry conditions, but they excel in it. And when I first started this 20 years ago, I was coming out here from Arizona, and I learned about how Lake Powell and Colorado was all going dry, and how the states divvied up the water during a high flow event, and eventually, the water's going to run dry, and the climate's changing. And I thought, well, gosh, what can I grow that's going to be adapting to a different climate model? And I wanted to grow yuccas. Mm-hmm. And when I first started this, I thought, I want to make a fortune off of global warming. I wish I wasn't right.
Well, we may not be here in 50, 60 years. You never know.
Yeah, I'm an optimist, but I saw what was coming.
It's climate change, and it's the dropping groundwater too.
And also, demographics, people moving into the Southwest with a limited water resource. It was a no-brainer that this type of landscaping is going to take off.
So these were removed from the ground, and how long ago?
Yeah, about a month ago.
And so you'll keep them in these for like 6 months, and then once they start looking good, new growth.
I think probably next month we'll be able to ship them out. Usually I hold them for about 2 months.
I was here the other day. I seen you had a truck backed up, a big semi backed up. Where was that going to?
That was my distributor out of Tucson, Savannah Growers, and they have 11 trucks, distributed across 11 states. They have trucks coming every week into Texas. They'll come in from Arizona, pick up, do Texas distribution. That same truck will come back to the farm, pick up more yuccas back for Arizona and Vegas distribution. So it's a great system, great partnership I have with Savannah Growers.
So you don't got these on drip, you just hand water them, huh?
I just hand water them. I've had drip systems out here before. The rats chew the emitters, they get clogged up. And then once the plant's not getting water and it dries out, it's hard to pull it back into recovery mode. And it's just easier to come out here and water by hand. That way we can see the plants, whenever we water them. We're constantly monitoring them to make sure that they're in good health.
You're coming through. It's not just like a hands-off, forget about it thing.
No, this is very hands-on.
Yeah.
I don't breathe a sigh of relief till I see that semi leaving and the door's closed, and then I can woof.
So this is all Yucca Rostrata too.
This is all Yucca Rostrata. These I will be planting out next year. I have about 10,000 ready and a drip system all in place. These will go in the ground next year. We plant these out one at a time by hand with a shovel. You got to get out there on your hands and knees.
That's the way to do it, man. It's nice. Yeah. So how old are these?
I bet you these are about 3 years old right now.
Wow.
Yeah, these are 3 years old. Yeah, they were growing in a container. We had them there for a couple of years. Had to sprout them. That's a year. So these are in their 3rd year.
So get them in the ground so they could start. Everything does better in the ground.
Everything does better in the ground, but you got to get water to them. But they do better in the ground, absolutely.
Oh, this is a fucking great species. Yeah, this is all Faxoniana, right?
This is all Faxoniana. This is all collected outside of Big Bend National Park on a private ranch. I grow a few of these, but they're not quite as in demand. But I do like them. I do sell some of these mostly through the online retail.
They
store.
ought to be in demand. This is a fucking great plant, man.
It's an awesome plant. It really is.
Well, who's that guy? That outlier right there. Is that Havardiana or what?
Oh, it's a Havardiana, yes.
It's a native West Texas agave.
Yeah,
One
I
of them.
collect these out of Glass Mountains, the seed. I grew these from seed.
Okay, this agave, because this is common. I see this at least in landscapes in West Texas. This is agave ferox, you said?
Yeah, agave ferox. I think the common name would be green goblin. I don't have too many of these. I'm trying to get some pups, and I'll start propagating. Hope to get more of them. Maybe I'll have some for sale in 10 years.
Yeah, they pup like hell.
They pup like crazy.
Okay, now this is agave ovatifolia. This is the ovatifolia dungeon.
Yes, right? The dungeon. I call it the agave accelerator. Now I put these under here. They got the shade cloth protection. I sometimes put plastic over it. This is all the agave ovatifolia. There's probably, I don't know, maybe 300 of them here, 350.
And this is all the same clone, right?
This is all the same clone.
Do you grow these from seed ever?
I haven't been able to find seed for them.
Really? Yeah.
It's not an option.
Yeah.
You know, so these are all clones.
And what's the cultivar name? Do you know?
They call it the frosty blue.
Uh,
You'll see that in the literature.
but these, how old are these?
These are probably about 3 years old now. They grow slower in pots, of course, but they're just now starting to grow.
And you get these tissue culture?
Yeah, and they're just little bitty things when I get them. They're not big at all. So they've grown quite a bit. And you put this in the ground, it'll be within 4 years as big as the ones you saw over by my house.
Jesus
that big old
Christ.
thing. Oh, more like 5 years. They get huge
They
fast.
get really big. Yeah. How long till flowering? About like a decade, 15 years or something?
Anywhere from 10 to 20 years. I think I had one over here planted in the ground. It started flowering within 10 years, but I think you can expect really 20 to be normal. That one probably got a little more water than it probably is normal.
Yeah,
than
it
average.
depends on how long the growing season is, the temperature you're around,
And how much water.
and how much water. Okay, so what's going on here? Shipping?
Yeah, this is shipping day. This is Sunday. We ship out every Sunday for Big Ben Yucca Company. And these are plants that people order. Oh, these are really gone. That's good. Oh.
It might run into copyright violations, though. That's good.
Oh, okay. But no, we go out and harvest these yuccas on a Sunday morning. And these will be going out UPS on Monday all across the country. I think this week we got, of course, Texas. We're going to Ohio, Florida, and California this week with some plants.
No shit, Ohio.
Yes,
That's
in Ohio.
Wow.
I know.
And so how old is this plant? Like a decade?
Yeah, it's going to be at least a decade. Yes, these plants are at least a decade
So
old.
shipped bare root, and then the leaves just taped up, and they transplant fine.
Yeah, here's one over here. We have to, we ship them bare root without any soil and clean them off real good, wrap up the head, and just put them in a box. I mean, I never thought I would be shipping yuccas in a box, but here I am. It's just kind of worked that way. COVID is what caused this. People want to do online shopping and not go out their house. And so I just want to try something different. It's been a game changer.
But you get people, telling you these things do fine in places like Ohio. They survive in the ground.
Oh, yeah, in the ground. Oh, I've shipped Rostratas up to upstate New York.
Jesus Christ.
I know. That was one of the first places I shipped.
Jesus.
That guy who bought a 3'6" one that grew 8 inches in its first year.
But they got to leave that skirt of leaves on.
They
when
got to
they
leave.
plant
If
it.
they're up north, I'll tell people to leave that skirt on for cold protection, also for the cold, especially winter rains. You don't want rot setting in. That skirt protects them.
So this is Yucca linearifolia.
Yeah, this is
not
the Yucca
Rostrata.
linearifolia. This is not a Rostrata. Linearifolia has a narrower leaf. It's a little bit more of a lime green, and the root system is quite different. It's more of a what I call a sweet potato. It just gets enormous. The hardest part about shipping these is trying to find one where the root ball is not so big, or the root crown that doesn't just bust open the box.
And yeah, you could see the leaf right there. It's more of like a rhombus. It's not just flat.
Yeah, kind of like a bear grass. That's
You can
right.
see that. Yeah, more like
An olena or something.
succulent. How cold tolerant are these?
Yeah, they go down to 0 easily. They're not quite as cold tolerant as the Rostrata. But I have people who will want them up in the north. They'll grow them in greenhouses in the far north, or move it indoors.
Okay, so these are all shipped and ready to go.
Yeah, these are ready to go here. These are some boxes here. I recognize that name. That's Carlos in Atlanta. He's probably ordered about 15 this year. He's going to have a spectacular place there in Atlanta. He sends me photographs. It's like really quite stunning what he's doing. He's probably been my #1 customer this season.
Yeah, man, that thing is. Man, you guys pack them really. What do you use packing material then?
Yeah, we'll get a bunch of paper, wrap it up in paper, put it in here nice and tight. This is a linearifolia. It's going to Texas here. But you can see that root ball is really what takes up the whole box. So
Yeah.
we just put the paper in there to stabilize it.
It's just like a giant potato, just a giant storage tuber.
And they ship really well. I have very few problems. UPS has been really reliable. I've had a few where the big ones will cause the box to break, but that doesn't happen too often. It's really been a very successful business model.
So they got like a 99% survival rate.
Oh
Basically.
yeah, I'd say up there 95+% for sure. And that online retail for people in rural, remote areas, it's a game changer. It really is.
So she just showed up. That's
That's just a dog that kind of showed up one of these days. Nobody owns her. She's a friend to everybody, a slave to none.
She's a good dog, man.
Oh, she's excellent.
Yeah. So what's going on here?
Well, besides a bunch of weeds, we do have a few Yucca Rostrata in here. We just planted these this year. These are some that are in their 3rd year of growth or 4th year of growth, 1st year of in the ground on a drip system, and hopefully we can start harvesting these here in about 6 years, which would put them at about 9 years old total time.
You know, I be honest, I like the weeds. You get more pollinators around. It keeps the sun from baking the bare ground.
Oh, as a farmer, it sucks.
Yeah, they take a little bit of water and root space, but it's you know.
Yeah, just the aesthetics of looking at all those weeds too. But they're not doing us harm. They're really not. But I do try to keep the shade off of them. Like I said, I'll get some more sun in some cases.
You know what's the pain in the ass is that salsola, that Russian thistle.
Oh, that is the worst.
But the cowpen daisies, the Verbicina celluloides, and the Solanum eleagnifolium, that is a tough motherfucker, man. That purple Solanum.
And this Bermuda grass is ridiculous as well.
Yeah,
Jesus Christ, who put that here? I don't know. They should be shot.
I don't know how that Solanum does it. They got a tuberous root. But anyway, okay. So what's this? This is a new species, right?
This is the first yucca I planted here. This is Yucca Rigida, and this was actually an accident. I was supposed to get Yucca Rostrata. I bought from 3 different suppliers in 2 different states, and they all bought their seed from one supplier, and I got shipped a bunch of Yucca Rigida. This about put me out of business before I even got started. Put all this effort into it. It's not the plant she wanted. It's a beautiful yucca, but it's not as popular on the market. It's not as in demand.
God, it should be, though. Look at that. It's not as cold hardy as Rostrata.
It's not as cold hardy for Rostrata as for starters. And it's a little harder to get rooted out. But they're beautiful yucca. I like them, but boy, that really.
Man, they're fucking, yeah, they are beautiful, though,
I was
man.
just devastated, though, when I found out I had a bunch of Rigidas and not Rostratas at first.
Yeah, much different leaves. Yeah, definitely, I could see why it's rigid. They're more rigid. They're not as flaccid and flappy and what the shit. And they got that glaucous blue color is something else, though, man. I mean,
oh, they're beautiful. They really are.
How cold tolerant are these?
They go down to 0. I've seen these growing in Tucson. I think these are probably the most drought tolerant yucca that you can have. They have an incredible root system, but it takes a while for that root system to get established. But once they're established, they're just, I see some of them in Tucson. They're just magnificent specimens. There's one over by Trader Joe's on Speedway behind there, and it's just an amazing plant.
Are you ever going to sell these, you think?
I had 10,000 of them here. There might be about 700 left. I don't know if I'll sell anymore. Most of them have missing arms or a rotten head, or there's something wrong with them that they're just, for landscape purposes, people want perfect plants. They don't want to have a missing arm or anything like that.
Oh, I love these. We got to get these out. We got to sell these. I love these. They're the rejects.
They're the rejects. They're the Charlie Brown Christmas tree.
Yeah, so this is, see, I was telling you, I like the fact you don't spray a bunch of nasty herbicide and bullshit and poison the ground. But this invasive Russian thistle is a real pain in the ass, man.
Oh, it's brutal. We've had like 6 inches of rain in the last 6 weeks. The weeds have just exploded. I'm working hard to get a fence around this place. I'm gonna try to get some sheep here next year.
Yeah.
For weed control. It just, as a farmer, it just hurts my heart to see all these weeds. But there's a lot of beautiful plants out here. We have probably about 20,000 Rostratas. So we come out here. This is where we're harvesting. I'll be harvesting here for the next 5-6 years before we move on to another planting.
Yeah, I mean, well, the weeds, if they don't get too tall and compete with the plant for light, that acts like a living mulch. But when they get this big, yeah, then it's a pain in the ass.
It's just a pain in the ass. It's more aesthetics than anything. You're right about that.
But these plants are a lot happier with this than they would be if it was just barren ground, and especially if there was herbicide.
I suspect that you're right about that. Yeah.
But these are, anyway. So this is what. So how old is this one?
All these plants in here are right about 10 years old in here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
God damn, that's fast though for a yucca. And so when these will be ready to go, what? You're gonna wait, get another foot or two?
Well, we're coming through. My target height is 4 feet. That's right about 4 feet, this plant right here. So next time we pass through here, you can see this one's already trimmed on the bottom. The guys have prepped it for harvest already. See how it's trimmed below?
Yeah.
We'll come in here and harvest this probably next time we pass through this section of the field. And it takes a crew of 4 people to come out here and harvest. Someone driving the skid steer to pull them up, a couple people to help, put them into the pots and pack them with soil.
And you said your help is from Ecuador.
That's correct.
Right, yeah.
Yeah,
most Americans probably don't even know where Ecuador is.
I imagine quite a few probably don't. But it's, of course, northern part of South America. I'm on the H-2A program. These guys have visas coming here to work for 9 months out of the year. Then they go home and they'll come back in March.
So they come, they work for 6 months, and they go back. Or you end up getting the same guys coming back?
Yeah, I'll get the same guys. Hopefully I get the same guys. Hopefully they want to come back.
You don't have to train them again, yeah.
Yeah, no, they're great guys. I cook for everybody on the weekends, so they got to come back.
So yeah, Rostrata, you could see, like unlike that Rigida that I just showed you, that last plant I just showed you, Rostrata's got kind of thinner leaves and they're more flappy, but and more, yeah, not as harsh. But this is there's that heart of the plant, which again is just storing all that energy, all those carbohydrates cooked up via photosynthesis, just stashing them in there. Because yuccas are in the agave family. They're agave subfamily of the asparagus family.
There you go.
So. God damn, and you can really see it when they send up that inflorescence. Looks like an asparagus. Yeah, so this is, man, it fucking Russian thistle, that salsola. I've seen it stop freight trains before. I saw a picture in Montana where it was so thick it stopped the freight train.
I believe it. I mean, when the wind blows, I've had them cover up my house sometimes. You got to get the pitchfork out. That was my job as a little kid, to pull the tumbleweeds off the fence line and burn them, and that's not a favorite childhood memory of mine.
So many people don't even know that tumbleweeds aren't native to North America either.
And yet they're in all the old West movies. They're fixing to have a gunfight, and here comes a tumbleweed blowing by.
Oh, I see a fucking cool native. Look at this. You got Nictaginea capitata. This is a really cool one. Look at that. Man, this is a beast. I wish you had all this growing all over the ground right here.
That'd be lovely.
It's a fucking great native. I got some of those in my garden. They transplant easily too.
Do they?
Yeah, and I think they're cleistogamous, so they'll, without getting pollinated, or they'll self-pollinate, and they can form seeds without getting hit. But yeah, the seeds look like little barrels, and they'll be in at the base of that flower. Oh, see, you can already see it. Yeah, there you go. See a little green, looks like a little green barrel. Huh. Really cool plant. Flowers smell kind of rank though. See, you can see that big. Jesus, if I can get in there without getting. You got that new mass of tissue. Oh yeah, those are all new leaves.
Oh, now this is the time of year that really grows in the fall after the heat subsides a little bit.
Yeah.
And plus we've had 6 inches of rain here in the last 6 weeks.
Yeah.
So these things are cranking out the growth right now. They could, now that they have established root system, they could grow up to 6 inches during the latter half of the year.
Oh, that's another cool native. Buddleia scordioides, a native member of the same genus as the dreaded invasive butterfly bush. You can see those flowers are axillary and they're just wrapped in a little verticillaster. They're whirled around the stem, wrapped in a dense wool. This thing's a beast. All those hairs protecting it from the desiccation, the drying winds, and the heat, and all the other shit. Look at that beautiful. All the plants in the desert tend to have that chalky mint green color to them. Woo! Silostrophe asteraceae, silostrophe. Oh, that's cool. Look at that, woolly too. Completely different family than what I just showed you, but displaying the same traits. Convergent evolution at its finest. Okay, let's see if we got any seeds in there.
We are on the northern fringes of where the moth, there's a pollinator moth that is responsible for the pollination of this particular species.
Yeah, because it's only a moth that can pollinate this thing.
There are some seeds in
here.
here.
Oh, no shit. Wow, that's cool. So that moth is here.
That moth is here. Not in abundant numbers because there's not a lot of seeds.
Yeah. Oh.
But yeah, I've collected seeds off.
Can I have those seeds?
Yes.
Oh, fuck yeah, thank you.
Of course.
You're a gentleman and a scholar. That's cool, man. That's cool they're getting hit. So that moth is here. There's no other way for them to get pollinated. Because the female yucca moth actually has to stuff the pollen down into the stigma.
That's amazing, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's quite a story.
Intentional pollination, not just passive. And then she lays some eggs and the larvae eat some of the seeds and then let some of the seeds ride. Very cool coevolution.
There you go. Get you some more there.
Hell yeah. Thank you, sir. Yeah, thanks a lot, man. Got a couple outlying Faxoniana. How old is that one, do you know?
I'm gonna say this one's probably at least 8 years old. It was in a pot for a long time. This is where I had a Rostrata die, and I didn't have anything to replace it with, and so I'll come in here and plant some Faxons and some bald spots that just kind of fill in the field a little bit.
Yeah, I love that mesquite germinated too.
Oh my gosh, these mesquites! I got to get in here and get them out of here.
No, leave them. That's great. Until they get too big, you could just bonsai them. I love the fact that you're not spraying, man. This is fucking great.
Oh, I've been too busy.
It's a living mulch. Well, a lot of farmers too don't realize when this is growing there, you know, especially if it's not like a food, you know, they're not going to directly compete too much with the longer lived stuff. It's just these angels that's preventing that sun from baking the shit out of that ground.
Oh, that's true. That is absolutely
that ground
true.
would be 30 degrees hotter if this stuff wasn't growing on it.
That's absolutely a fact. This is crazy. Here I have a little 2-foot Rostrata. It's the same age as this 6-foot.
Jesus, just how's that for phenotypic diversity? Look at that.
Yeah, so it's just crazy.
That's cool though. I mean, I like that. I like that they're not all the same clone, man.
That's right. Got a lot of genetic diversity here.
Man, so these are not just totem poles. They branch, and that's what this guy's doing. It's forming two heads. You got one head there and one head there.
And there's another head in the back over here.
Oh, okay. So you could barely notice it, but you see where the denser foliage is. There's 2 apical meristems coming up. Well, 3 on the whole thing.
Yeah, this is where it tried to flower, or is flowering. And when they flower, they tend to go multi-headed at that point.
Oh, okay. What happened? Did it actually flower, or did something nip the top off, or what?
I'll go around. I'll cut the flowers off.
Because it takes energy.
It just takes the energy. I can't harvest a plant for another year after it does that. The plant will put all this energy into that flower production. The head goes ugly. I can't touch the plant for a year, 2 years. So I'll go in there and I let some flower, but if there's a bunch of them flowering, I'm gonna go pull them off.
Yeah. Okay, so this one right here, this is Yucca Elata. This is like the really common one you see in West Texas. You see it at White Sands. I think this is the one you see at White Sands in New Mexico. Yeah. Yeah, and it's got all those filifers, those little hairs.
And it's a really tough plant as well, but the Elata has a taproot that grows down several feet, and it's really hard to dig up and transplant, so they're not very popular in the landscape market, just simply for that fact.
Yeah, well, you could get seed, you know, roadside anywhere in West Texas almost. So, and what are the other agaves you get here? Thompsoniana, Torii, and what else?
Not Faxon.
Faxoniana, right?
Yeah, and that's our 3 main ones here.
It's a nice punti. Look at that, busting out of the cement too. Should mention, so this is Hesperaloe funifera. This is same family, but you get some much different inflorescence. Yeah, these are fucking great. Look, you get those white flowers up there. This is a great plant, man. Wish I saw this. You don't see this planted out too much, huh? In horticulture here, or what?
It's underutilized, in my opinion. You see it sometimes on highway mediums and places like that. It's a perfect plant. It's quite striking. It's very suitable and adaptable for this hot environment, and yet it's underutilized, in my opinion.
The Covens let me take a couple of Agave Perrii from the Huachuca Mountains in southern Arizona. Let me take a couple pups. Thank you, sir.
Absolutely.
Okay, so since we're talking monocots, what species of Dazzlerian is this?
Ooh, Dazzlerian Wheeleri.
Wheeleri?
I believe so. I think I collect this down by Sanderson. I might be wrong about the Wheeleri.
It might be Texanum. I think there's no Texanum and Leophyllum. It's which way in Flora of North America. It's dependent on which way the spines point. But either way, this has been a huge. There's been a boom in Sotol production lately. Not the plants, unfortunately, but in terms of basically ripping it out of the wild off of people's ranches.
That's right. I've been approached by people with these distilleries outside of San Antonio and Austin, these little boutique distilleries serving Sotol. They're claiming that things are sustainable, and I can't grow them. They pull these off. They rape these off of ranches for $15 or $20 each. I can't compete with that. No grower can.
Right, nobody's growing them. I mean, you can grow them from seed. I just germinated fucking 150, but they grow slowly. A lot of people don't have the patience, and it takes 20 years to get them to size where you can harvest the heart and distill it.
Yeah, and as far as for landscaping, I don't know how long you'd have to grow it for landscaping. Probably maybe 10 years or so, similar to a Rostrata. But the potential is there, but it's so common across ranches that this is literally just stripped off of ranches, and these diggers have to go hunt different parts of ranches or a completely different ranch to go find another batch to go rape.
So like a ranch owner who doesn't care about his land, just trying to make a quick buck, will let people in there and they'll just go rip everything out.
All right, or they got 2 kids in college and they got a lot of financial obligations.
See, there you go. You're more positive spin. I'm not better than me.
Well, they need money. I get it.
Leave the 80 grit sandpaper approach to me. You got that's good.
There you go.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, if we just change some of our native plant laws to protect these plants, it would stimulate a whole other industry throughout the Southwest to grow these plants. And there's no reason why we can't.
Or if some of the Sotol producers would just fucking invest in growing it themselves, growing greenhouses full of
They
shit.
need to do it. But as far as them claiming it's sustainable, you're going to sit there in your little nice boutique distillery and feel good about yourself while you're drinking it?
Yeah, it's
Bullshit.
not sustainable. It's about as sustainable as a spilling herbicide on a fucking in a creek.
No, it's marketing at its finest.
Okay, so this is all Agave Havardiana, the native West Texas agave, or one of them, one of the coolest, I think. And also, these are all seed grown, right? So each one's a different phenotype.
Yeah, these are all seed grown. I collect these off of the Allison Ranch in the Glass Mountains. I did these probably about, I want to say 8 or 9 years ago. So I just plant things. For me, planting it's an obligation. It fulfills some deep-seated need. It satisfies something within me, and I'll keep planting till the day I get planted and composted.
I know the feeling. It's a compulsion. It's nice to be able to return to a spot where you planted something 10 years later and see the thing is, how it's doing. Check out. It's like checking up on old friends.
The satisfaction is tremendous. I'll go to Dallas or Houston. I can actually recognize plants that have come off my farm and see them in the landscape. And that is, to me, it makes it all worth it. All the hard work, it makes it worth it.
What's cool about this species too, Havardiana, is that some of them offset profusely. I mean, just like this one's it's got to have 30 heads coming off this plant.
Yeah. No, they do pup out a lot more. Not all of them. Like I said, there's different genotypes in here. Some are quite clean.
So these, again, is this all the same seed batch?
This is all the same seed batch. Although in the background there are some Americanas and there's some Perias on the other side. For the people in your audience that are more eagle-eyed can see a difference.
Yeah. So this is 8 years from seed, but in the West Texas climate, where the growing season sometimes is not that long, right? I mean,
these are taken care of. I've watered them.
Yeah.
I take care of them. I've given them a little bit of fertilizer, some osmocote in the beginning. They haven't been fertilized in 2 or 3 years at least, but yeah, they if you water them, they grow.
Okay, so these are the Perii, and how old are these, and where's the seed from?
Oh, these Perii here are probably about 15 years old, and I collected these seed off the road medium outside of Silver City, New Mexico.
That's a great fucking species though, man. Just perfect rosette. Doesn't get as big as Havardiana though.
But that compact, symmetrical look is just it's a wow factor. People love them.
Okay, the wind is picking up. I put my old hat back on because the big one was fucking getting blown everywhere. But I guess it's time to end the video. But yeah, Hova, man, thanks a lot for being down to do this.
Oh, it's my pleasure.
And
thanks for coming.
Yeah, check it out. Comanche Yucca, Big Ben Yucca Company. That's all I got. Have a good rest of the day. Go fuck yourself, bye.